Well, we're back here with the Diesel Scout. We're going to get some maintenance done on it and talk about it a little bit. Hey everyone, and welcome to Carey's Garage. And on this episode, we're going to get some stuff done to the SD33 Nissan Diesel and the 78 International Scout. Went ahead and I got the oil draining. I've got a ton of oil. This thing takes a massive amount of oil. And my special order oil filter, which it's a canister type, so we're going to have to get that all apart. Hopefully it's the right filter. And then we're going to run some diesel purge through the injection system. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. All right, let's see if I can get you guys set up enough to be able to check this out. And I do apologize about the birds in the background. They're being very noisy today. So we have a canister style oil filter, which conveniently sits right above the front differential. So it's gonna leak everywhere. But let's see if I can get this loose. Just gotta find the right wrench. Never really been a huge fan of canister style oil filters. They're kind of a pain to deal with, but if it's what it has, it's what it has. And then you gotta make sure to drop the wrench too. So let me go up underneath and see if I can get it all loose. It is making a total mess of the front differential. I gotta say, it sits right above it, so it just sits there and drips. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that drip for a while, and we're gonna go ahead and put the new element in the canister housing. So here we got the housing with the canister in it. So go ahead and get this guy pulled out. This is the tray I was using when I did the Raycor filter. I also have a new fuel filter for the Nissan filter as well. And when you do stuff like this, brake clean, carb clean is your friend. You end up using a lot of it. Well, it looks like we are in luck. The filter element is correct. Everything matches from that. Got a new O-ring that happened to be missing at the bottom. And funny enough as it is, I noticed somebody had double stacked the O-ring for the filter housing. The old one was very, very hard, so I was able to chisel it out and get the new O-ring in. So let's go ahead and get this guy in. See if I could bring you down below with me. So there is the base for the filter. So what you gotta do is gently get it up. And get it lined up, get the bolt started. And once you get the bolt started, you get it close. And then you make sure it seats correctly and then tighten on the bolt. So we'll go ahead and get that tightened up and then start filling it up with all the oil. So we've got 14 quarts of oil here. This engine doesn't take that much. From what I read, it should take about 12. So this is 10 and that's 4. It's as much, it's the biggest oil containers I could get. I didn't want to get a 5-gallon, you knowing I do use a lot of oil, but this should be enough. So let's go ahead and start filling it up. One downside is pouring from these big jugs is a total pain. Let's try not make a huge mess. Well, we've got about 2 gallons in it now, so let's check the level just to double check. Nothing. It's not even registering yet, so let's keep going. And then I know that filter's probably going to take at least a quart to fill it. So that's now 2.5 gallons, so 10 quarts of oil. And we are starting to register now on the dipstick. So we're about halfway on the dipstick now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crank it over without the fuel turned on, let it build up oil pressure and fill up that filter housing, and then we'll check the level, top it off. We're at a slight incline going up, so we'll get it near the fill line, but just make sure it's full, and then we'll start it up, let it warm up, and then we'll get onto the diesel purge. Well, that should be enough cranking to be able to check. Biggest thing you want to do, especially with these canister style filters, is crank it over, especially with this, since I could turn the fuel off and not have it start. Build up oil pressure and just make sure there's no leaks anywhere, because these can leak really bad if they're not seated just right. And it looks like it's dry. So now let's check the oil level again, top it off, and then we'll start it up. So we're still pretty high on the dipstick. So let's go ahead and let it start up and run for a few minutes, and then we'll check. So one thing I still need to do is go through and check all the glow plugs, make sure they're operational. I checked a couple, but it's a lot to get all the fasteners off. It is a little finicky still when it's cold. So I need to definitely check those glow plugs, and then we're gonna do the diesel purge and see if we can clean up the injectors and the injection pump. So let's go ahead and glow. See if she starts up. This thing is very cold-blooded. "12 seconds of glow. Glow again. I have a feeling a couple of the glow plugs are probably inoperable. And the nozzles too for the injectors, I guarantee you, are not spraying just right. And then once it does start, it's a nice smoky mess for a little bit. Yeah, when you first start up and it's cold, it has a little bit of a mist and smoke some, and then it clears up. Got good oil pressure. Yeah, and then it'll stall out like that. Yeah, and then once you hold it at about 1,000 RPM for about 20 seconds, then it will maintain idling, but then it hunts a little bit, and sometimes it'll do that. So what we're gonna do is get some heat into the engine so we can disconnect the fuel lines and run that diesel purge. Well, we got some heat into the engine, got it warmed up a bit. And so what I did is I disconnected the fuel supply line and the fuel return, and I put it in a jar and filled it up with this diesel purge. Now we're gonna start it up, hold it at some revs, and get that entire stuff just to circulate through the injection system and burn it off. And the goal is, I've revived a lot of old Mercedes diesels with this stuff, and it really cleans stuff up and helps with the nozzles and the injection pump. So let's go ahead and start it up and get it cleaning. So we got it running, and it's running off of that jar down there. So our goal is to pretty much run it completely out, but not run it fully out because we don't want to have to reprime the pump. ran for about 20 minutes, and this is all I have left. It was getting pretty close to sucking in air, so I wanted to stop because I didn't want to airlock the system. So I got the fuel supply and return hook back up. Up next, either today I'm going to replace this filter element because I finally got the Nissan one. That one was pretty clean since it has this ray core. So first filter goes in the pump and then goes into the Nissan pump. So that one was pretty nice. I recently actually also had to replace this fuel line. It had a pinhole and it was spraying right into the fan. So that was a little bit annoying, but I got that replaced. I would say it sounded like it cleared up a little bit running it on the diesel purge. You know, it just cleans stuff out of the system, makes it run better. So I'm gonna move the truck, fill the tires, and we're gonna go take it for a drive up and down the road. Got the oil change and the diesel purge ran through the system. Got everything all buttoned up. So let's take it on its first official real drive. Just up and down my road, row through the gears and see how it feels. But first, I gotta start it up and back it up. And like I showed in that last video, the steering it's strongman steering and it's got a bunch of turns lock to lock. So let me pull it out and then we'll video driving it. We're out on my road and let's go drive up and down. First to second. Into third. Looks like the speedometer doesn't work, so we'll have to look into that. And like everyone said, these things it's pretty gutless, even with the turbo, but man, this thing is cool. And no, I did not latch the hood down, so you can see it bouncing. Well, I tell you what, I'm pretty impressed. Other than the fact that it bounces around, these tires are terrible, and my road is very washed out. Drives pretty good. Brakes are absolutely terrifying. I think only one of them is working. If you hit the brakes, it does that. So brakes are definitely on the next list. But the turbo spool's good. Yeah, pretty good. Well, went ahead and got the oil changed on the old Scout 2. Got the correct oil filter. Like I said, I had a special order that. There were none available. Thankfully, it was the right one. It's a Wix filter, so it's pretty good. Got diesel purge ran through the injection system, so hopefully that cleans up the injectors and the injection pump a bit. I have a feeling at some point in the near future, I'm going to have to pull all 6 injectors out, spray test them, and probably get new nozzles. I really wouldn't be surprised. But for now, runs okay enough to be able to do what I need it to. So up next, we're gonna wash it, start waxing it, detail the interior, and rebuild the brake system because the brakes are terrible. So we'll have to see what all we need. Probably master cylinder. I bet you the rear wheel cylinders are leaking. We'll have to look at the disc brakes up front, but a little at a time. Definitely getting it going, and it's super exciting. It's such a cool rig. I love this truck. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and catch you on the next video.